Hi again everyone. We're going to be looking at our filling machine data. So let's get into SAS Studio. We'll select our original version of the filling machines data. We're going to have 3 different versions of this, so let me make sure to name this appropriately. We'll call it fill 1 and go ahead and run that to import the data. Now we're going to do analysis of variance in SAS Studio for the first time. Analysis of variance is located in the tasks linear models grouping. One-way analysis of variance is what we're looking for, so I'll double click on that. We've got our fill1 data. In that, our dependent variable is the thing that we're measuring. We're measuring the fill time. Our categorical variable is the group membership. And so that is machine. We've got these 3 different machines that we are looking to measure the fill time on. We're going to be running a test to see if any of these average fill times differ from one another. Under comparisons here, I'm going to change this to Bonferroni. Not going to make a big difference. I'll talk about that when we're looking at the output. I think that's it. We can go ahead and hit run. We've got 15 observations split across 3 levels of this machine, A, B, and C. So that's good. That's what we were expecting. I guess first we probably should have taken a look at this data. So just real quick, under filling machines, output data. Here is our data, 15 observations, 5 of machine A, 5 of machine B, 5 of machine C, and those are our fill times. Okay, so back to our one-way analysis of variance. We've got our table of output here, our analysis of variance table. This is just the same as what we already calculated by hand. So we've got an F statistic of 25.6. No one remembers what makes a big F statistic or a big enough F statistic, so we rely on the p-value, and our p-value here is tiny, less than 0.0001, less than 1 in 10,000. So we reject our null hypothesis. What was our null hypothesis again? It was that all the group means are equal. And so we reject that in favor of the alternative. What's the negation of all group means are equal? It's at least 2 of the group means differ, or not all the group means are the same. Okay, let's have a look at the rest of our output. First thing we've got here that's useful anyway is a side-by-side box plot for each of our 3 machines. And this should be confirming what we already knew, that the means, or the values of fill time for group A are really quite a lot higher than the values of fill time for group B, which are in turn quite a lot higher than the values of fill time for group C. And so what we should be concluding from this is that not all of these times are the same. The machines don't have the same fill time. And that's exactly what we found with our analysis of variance. Now, once we've determined that all of these fill times for each of the machines are not equal, the natural question to ask is, well, which of them differ from one another? Now, we can look at this output and say, hey, it looks like machine A takes longer than B and machine B takes longer than C to fill. But we'd like to do that a little more formally, and that's what the test, let's see, I'm used to calling it a post hoc test, but what does a comparisons test is what SAS Studio calls it. This test is a comparison of means test. We've got the actual means listed here, 24.93, 22.61, and 20.59. But what's really useful for us is this next table that shows the pairwise tests of equalities of means. What we've got in this table are the p-values for those tests, and so this is telling us that our p-value for the test of equality of means between group 1 and group 2, and then we have to reference up here, group 1 is machine A, group 2 is machine B, that p-value is 0.0073, or about 7/1000ths. This is much lower than our 5% threshold, than 0.05, so we would say that groups 1 and 2, that is machines A and B, have different means. Looking at the other p-values for groups 1 and 3, machines A and C, we see another p-value that's significant, much less than 0.05. So we say that machines A and C have significantly different means. They take significantly different times to fill. And the same is true for 2 and 3. We have a p-value of 0.0181, again, still less than our 0.05 threshold. And so we would conclude that machines 2 and 3 fill at different speeds. Now, the particular comparison that we're making here is due to a set of assumptions that some dude named Bonferroni came up with. It turns out there are a lot of different ways to do this. What is that, about a dozen or so different ways to do these comparisons I am familiar with from my master's in statistics: the Bonferroni, Chaffee, and Tukey measures. The Tukey one is the one that SAS Studio chooses by default. If we chose Tukey, we would see some slightly different p-values over here, but what we would typically find is that they're telling us the same result. So let me just check that. Tukey will run, we'll scroll down to that same place that we were looking before, and again, those differences are, those p-values are about the same as what we were seeing before. So it's not going to make a big difference whether you're choosing Tukey or Bonferroni here. Some of the others give a slightly different answer. If you just want to keep it at the default Tukey comparisons, that's just fine with me, especially since the outcomes are going to be just the same, essentially, no matter which of these methods you choose. Alright, I think that's all that we need from here. So now it's time to move on to version 2.